unequal colonial and apartheid societies we inherited at the moment of our history's liberation infected us with what is called the affluenza virus, which is a set of values which increase our vulnerability to emotional distress. This distress stems from our fear of being left behind in the race for power, for affluence. We tend to place high value on acquiring money and possessions and looking good in the eyes of others and wanting to be famous, of course. The tension between the idealism of the liberation struggles and post-colonial transformation intentions in our society and the roots of the shared value system in Ubuntu is killed. That tension is heightened by this affluenza virus. Because often people who start off with very good intentions of promoting national development end up being caught up in patronage systems, in corruption, in nepotism, because the affluenza virus has got them. Like any other affliction, one cannot get help without acknowledging that one needs help. The denial of the psychosocial scars that were inflicted on us as a continent by the highly unequal societies that colonialism and in some cases pre-colonial traditional systems undermines our ability to create vibrant societies. We tend to be oversensitive to criticism when someone says, but this is not transparency. This is not accountable government. We defend the indefensible in our midst in the name of African solidarity. But is this solidarity to benefit the majority, or is it solidarity amongst African leaders which is used as a protective shield behind which they hide their poor performance to the detriment of ordinary citizens? The African Union, which started with great promise of putting the history of the OAU behind us, has failed us recently. I don't know how many of you are aware that at the meeting that was held in West Africa a few weeks ago, the AU adopted the protocol on amendments to the protocol on the statute of the African Court of Justice and Human Rights. And the name alone tells you there is something wrong. This protocol grants immunity to prosecution for heads of state and public officials. And I quote, this is Article 46A of this protocol. No charges shall be commenced or continued before the court against any serving African Union head of state or government or anybody acting or entitled to act in such a capacity, or other senior state officials based on their functions during their tenure of office. Close quotes. Now, do you realize what this means? That if you have committed some violations of human rights, you just stay in power. The Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court of Justice now suddenly becomes irrelevant. And the principle on which that Rome statute stands, which is the principle of equality before the law, has been completely negated by this protocol. The AU, in one fell swoop, has created an incentive for those violating human rights to stay in office in perpetuity. How can this build vibrant and fair societies on our continent?